Hello everyone and welcome back to Common Misplays. We are a Pauper gameplay channel and today we're going to be running through a league with Mono G Stompy. So I picked this deck because it's nice and consistent. We're obviously only running one colour of spell from the name. Nice low land count so it gets the deck very low to the ground. Able to get underneath slower, dirtier decks like Wall Combo and Tron generally. Can struggle a little bit against removal heavy matchups like obviously Burn, Mono Black Control. But overall, a very solid list and one that's not going to collapse in on itself a lot. Things like Affinity, things like Bogles can just mulligan into oblivion sometimes because you don't hit the exact combination of colors and different elements of your deck you need. This one generally, you're going to be drawing some number of creatures and spells and generally you'll be pretty happy with that. So onto the list itself, we're running 13 1-drops. Nettle Sentinel, a 1 mana 2/2. Quirion Ranger, one of the most important cards on the deck in fairness. It's not one that you want more than 3 copies of, I think 3 is the sweet spot, but helps you with your low land count. If you only ever hit 1 or 2 lands, you can still affect a reasonable attack. You can still get most of your spells out. Also helps if you can Voltron up a creature, give it pseudo vigilance so it can play attack and defense. Skargan Pit Skulk, Vault Scourge, good evasive, cheap threats. Vault Scourge is one of the most high variance cards in the deck. In matchups where it's good, like against Slivers for example, it is excellent. And it's one of the cards that will run away with the game and really help swing the life race in your favor quite heavily. But there are a lot of matchups where it is just stone cold useless. So it will be a card that I side out quite frequently when I'm playing this deck. Beyond that, Nest Invader, 2 mana, 2 bodies, great against Edicts, helps you get that extra mana if you don't have a third land for Elephant Guide, helps synergize with Hunger of the Howlpack, so a really solid card overall. River Boa, great in the matchups where you want it. Island Walk, Regenerate are very relevant abilities, great as a blocker, can be really good as an aggro threat as well, just because your opponent knows you can regenerate it, so they don't always want to block it, because they know probably they're going to come out on the losing end. Solhana Ledgewalker, Hexproof is just very relevant, so being able to play a threat that your opponent can't interact with meaningfully, especially against things like Burn and Mono Black, if they just can't kill it and you can Voltron it up, generally you can swing in for the win. Burning Tree Emissary helps us go wide early, so this is a really explosive card for the deck. It means a lot of the times on turn 2, especially if we can get a turn 1 play down, we can have 3 or 4 creatures out on turn 2. So when turn 3 rolls around and we're starting to play our Rancors, our Elephant Guides, our Savage Swipes, we're then swinging in for tons of damage. So that's the creatures. Beyond that, we then run 7 enchantments, a full 4 Rancor, Recursive, Pumps, Trample, everything you want for 1 mana. It's been proven over time that it's just a super powerful card. It's played in the modern version of this deck as well, which kind of says something for it. Elephant Guide is a 3 of as our top end. The +3/+3 is really relevant, so if you can get it onto Ledgewalker, Vault Scourge, Skargan Pit Skulk, it can just take away the game from your opponent. Especially on Vault Scourge, you just end up gaining so much life. Then we've got 4 Hunger of the Howlpack to really help beef up our team. Synergizes again with Nest Invader. Vines of Vastwood is really, really good when it is good. It's a very versatile card, so you have protection for your creatures, pumps. It can just be really relevant just to pump your creature for 4, sometimes more than sometimes, actually quite a lot of the time, especially the last couple of days I've noticed. I've been swinging in, I just need that little extra 3-4 damage. Your opponent doesn't block because they don't think that you're going to get there, and you just swing through for the win on turn 4 or 5, so it can be a really versatile card. Also, a great instant speed way to interact with what our opponent's trying to do sometimes. So sometimes you want to stop your opponent ghostly flickering, ephemerating what they're doing. It's a way of interacting with combinations like that. Savage Swipe, finally. This is the card that's really given the deck a shot in the arm and brought it back to relevance. This was kind of floating as a tier 2, tier 3 deck. Now it's up into the top tiers again, I would argue. All because of this card. This is such a huge play on turn 2 or turn 3, being able to almost always deal with your opponent's creature and then being able to swing through for extra damage. A pump spell and a fight spell all in one for 1 mana is just insanely efficient. It's almost like this card was literally designed for this deck by someone in R&D. I think somewhere in R&D there is a Mono Green Stompy player who was very sad the deck wasn't doing well and managed to sneak this past Gavin Verhey and the rest of them. Onto the sideboard, 4 Gleeful Sabotage. This is for Affinity, this is for sometimes Boros and Tron as well. Especially against Affinity, it is just an absolute house. You just absolutely brutalize and demoralize them. It's just that good. Relic we've got for the Mono Black matchup, the Tron matchup. Weather the Storm we've got for the Burn matchup, which isn't a great matchup for this deck in fairness. It's not unwinnable, but it's probably an unfavored matchup, I would say. I have considered swapping out Weather the Storm, purely because I find it awkward to actually find a spot in which to play it. I've considered swapping it out for Life Goes On, just because they're going to be removing our creatures anyway. We may as well benefit from that and actually potentially decentivize them from doing it. And it's 1 mana as opposed to 2. I haven't had a chance to actually test that out yet though, so I'm going to stick with the stock Weather the Storm for now. Epic Confrontation for creature matchups where you need that extra Savage Swipe, or 5th Savage Swipe essentially. Young Wolf for removal heavy matchups, so White-Black Pestilence, Mono-Black Control, we just need a recursive body to keep coming back for you. Gut Shot for Delver, Longbow for Delver and for Tron and for Wall Combo and things like that, where you just need a little bit of late game inevitability. I've lost quite a few games where I had my opponent down to 3 or 4 life, and I just wish I'd had a way to chip through for damage. So having one Longbow in the sideboard as a bit of a hedge doesn't hurt. So that is the deck list. We're going to run through a league and see how we get on. I will say as well, in the Reddit thread that I leave and in the YouTube description, I am going to leave a straw poll for what deck I play next. So if everyone wants to vote in that one, let me know what you want me to play and I will do my very best to honor that. But beyond that, let's jump into the gameplay and see how we get on.